Hi everyone, it's Father Alex here from the Godcast. I'm delighted to be able to bring this interview with Jonathan Antoine to you today. I do hope you enjoy it. I know Jonathan has got a huge number of fans across the world. We talk about his fans in the interview. We talk about his wonderful singing voice, his love of music, and his ever-growing career. We also talk about Jonathan's feelings about anti-bullying, and we also learn a bit about the BGT story as well. So I do hope you enjoy the interview. And if you do, then just Google the Godcast and you'll find many more interviews like this. So enjoy the interview. Here is myself talking to Jonathan Antoine. Well, I am absolutely delighted to say that joining me on the Godcast today is Jonathan Antoine. Now, Jonathan is quite a recognisable figure, I think, and you might recognise him from Britain's Got Talent, but is now having a wonderful, successful career in the world of music. Jonathan, it's wonderful to welcome you to the Godcast. How are you?
I am wonderful. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, and whereabouts in the world are you today?
In sunny Essex, the beautiful Hainault, where I've lived all my life.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you've got new music out at the moment, is that right?
I do. I have a new track that is just released called Io Si, Scene, originally written by Diane Warren with the Italian translation by Laura Pausini. And it's really, really good, I think, personally. Not to toot my own horn at all, but I don't often say that my own things are good, but I'm actually able to listen to and enjoy my own music more recently, and it's incredibly gratifying.
Mm. Just tell us the process about that when you're releasing new music. Have you got a fundamental say in it, or is it kind of a collaboration between you and managers and producers? How does it work?
It's both, really. It's I mean, if I chose not to sing something, that they can't magic it out of thin air, but it is very much a team process. There are a lot of moving parts, and being able to sing one of Diane's songs, and indeed a couple of them on my past albums, is because I have this wonderful team behind me at Low Key, and yeah, I love being able to collaboratively work with all these people because they get the ideas that I never would have had. Yeah, and so in terms of this particular recording, because we had that relationship with Diane, it really worked out. On April the 1st, I went into the studio in good humor, and it just it all poured out and was. Yeah, all that it's been from then is stacking up, building up our press, and here we are. It's released, and hopefully the people are enjoying it.
Yes, it is. I've listened to it. You've got a wonderful voice, Jonathan. We'll come to your voice in a moment. When was the last time you performed in front of a live audience? Can you remember? And I mean, not on Zoom. I mean, actually physically.
Yeah, it feels like a very long time ago. It must have been just at the tail end of 2019, I suppose, or yeah, I before COVID, basically. I just before COVID, I was out in America doing kind of a whole promotional thing about a TV special I had just made, and then yeah, as I was traveling sort of through the States, steadily people were becoming aware that there was a serious problem emerging. So that was, yeah, it's my life has very much been ruled by this
How,
the pandemic and stuff.
yeah, how frustrating has it been for you that you've not been able to get on a stage? Is it driving
It,
you crackers?
well, certainly on a personal level, of course, it's I'd like to get out there, do my job, and all that, but I have been able to stay sane this past year by thinking that it is for the betterment of public safety. If people are putting on shows all the time, we're not going to get rid of this virus, and it's just going to compound. And so, yeah, we've been staying safe, and hopefully that means that we'll be able to get back out there sooner.
Yeah,
Everything crossed.
let's hope so. Yeah. And so let's go back a few years, Jonathan. Can you remember when you first got an interest in music and what you were listening to?
Well, it's an interesting question. I feel like I've always been sort of drawn to music in general. Like when I was like 5 years old and listening to the pop hits of the breaking 2000. Uh, it's yeah, it drew me in, and dancing around in the living room as a little kid. That just that connection to music, and I think that might just be a human thing, right? We love to tell these stories. Music is like this inherently shareable, beautiful thing, and I guess I've had difficulty communicating my feelings through words, and so it felt like this natural extension to be able to go out and express yourself through music.
Mm.
And yeah, singing for me just happened to be the thing that I liked.
And were you doing that kind of at primary school, or were you in a church choir or anything like that as a kid?
Well, yeah, in primary school particularly, there were a few productions and things. I had very encouraging teachers, and yeah, it's I did a couple of those little productions and stuff, and people were very complimentary in sort of that way that you are when when it's other people's kids. uh, and that was it. Just that was super gratifying to me, and it pushed me forward. And um, at that time, it's very much kind of that thinking of there always must be a secondary pursuit just in case this whole thing falls through.
Mm.
But nowadays I feel that I'm 100% dedicated, which is a very nice feeling.
Yeah, one thing I was interested to know, Jonathan, was as obviously as a child before the voice breaks, how difficult is it to kind of go from the child voice to the more adult voices that as the voice box matures? Was that an easy transition for you or
Uh,
not?
it wasn't. Well, there are probably a few people who it's easy for, and they are very, very, very blessed. But overall, I think in general, it's because your voice is changing and it's not producing the thing that you hear and that you know that you can and you should. uh it becomes very discouraging, and so people will give up at that point. It's one of the like the first great challenges that is not external. It's not like other people. It comes from within you. So to surmount that, I think is yeah, it was key for me in my development, and just continuing to sing through it. And I had a wonderful singing teacher named Jenny Ewington, who yeah, she helped me push through that whole time. And yeah, I'm very, very glad I did.
Yeah, and as I'm just interested in terms of listening to classical music or opera. What age did that happen for you? I mean, you as a kid, it sounds like you were into Pop Party 12 or whatever it was.
Yeah, I mean, to be frank, I'm into pretty much everything. Like my bread and butter is heavy metal. So it's quite the contrast from what I sing. It really just so happened that I fell into the classical genre in terms of singing itself. The first song, I say this often, the first song that I ever sang properly was "Where Is Love" from Oliver, and that was very much a gateway from the musical theatre into the classical world. And I loved singing in Italian. I love the vowel sounds of that, and so it was yeah, it it really just happened by accident.
Mm. And what was your recollection of school days as a kid? Were they happy times? Were they awkward like they are for some teenagers? How was it?
Oh, I think they were very much both. It's you know I, happiness itself, particularly when you're young, is uh, is a strange thing in itself. Um, you are identifying yourself. You're becoming a person at that point, and trying to figure out what makes you happy, and trying to figure out why you are feeling certain things is uh, one of the greater challenges of growing up, experiencing, becoming aware. I suppose it's yeah, there were good times and bad times, certainly. um and often it certainly felt to me that the bad times outweighed the good. But when I recollect, when I look back truly, it seems at least balanced, if not weighed towards the good times. When I think back, I remember the concerts, the school concerts, singing for other people's parents and all the teachers, and that, yeah, just that, I suppose technically the early stages of my career at that point, though I wasn't getting paid for it, of course. It's yeah, it's those are the things that I remember, really. When you look back, you don't remember the bad times, I don't think, mostly.
Were you one of those kids that everybody, all the other kids thought he's the guy with the great voice? Were you that kind of kid? Or...
It took a long time to sort of try and establish myself as that. There were many years where I was known as all sorts of things, but you know, I tried to yeah, I did all the school concerts. I tried to kind of make a little bit of a reputation for myself. I was trying to become someone at all, you know, trying to figure out who I am. And if I could be that kid with the voice, I would have jumped at the opportunity.
And what kind of heavy metal music floats your boat, Jonathan? Are you kind of AC/DC, the old boys, or Iron Maiden?
I'm pretty new school, I would say. It's really weird stuff. There's a band called Tesseract from Milton Keynes, who are incredible, absolutely incredible. Band from sort of near that area, Monuments as well. It's modern progressive metal. It's and steadily you add more and more words to that genre.
Okay.
And
Have you recorded any heavy metal stuff? Any?
Some rudimentary demos for just for myself, but never anything, nothing that I would show to people.
Fair enough. Now, being a good singer is different from being an excellent singer. So you kind of you know, you go off to be trained. Is that right? Or you're when did somebody actually kind of identify that your voice had real potential to really do stuff? Because, you know, it was not just the case you went to Britain's Got Talent, you know, you'd not worked on the voice at all. You had been trained, and there was a bit of history to it. Just tell us a bit about that, Jonathan.
Yeah, well, of course, I mentioned my singing teacher, Jenny Ewington, who she kind of looked after me all throughout high school from start to finish. And that was, for me, consistency in general has actually ended up being really important, where perhaps I thought it wasn't quite as important at a point. And from there, she recommended that I try out for the conservatoires in London, because they all have junior departments. You can go in on weekends. It's a very sort of casual learning experience, but you get that legitimate training from these establishments. And so I applied for all of them, and eventually I picked the Royal Academy, which is just by Madame Tussauds in London. And so every weekend I would go up there, and yeah, it is this gorgeous building, a gorgeous walk from the station, and I would get to learn the ropes, the real the hard stuff. There were yeah, all different classes. There was Alexander technique, which is a whole body and physical exercise kind of thing, posture, that kind of thing. And there were a bunch of choirs you could go to, and it was all very, yeah, fluid and wonderful. And that I feel is where I like cut my teeth of kind of learning that singing is a craft. It is a thing that one can do for fun, and it's a thing that I do for fun. But it's also a thing that you craft, you hone, like woodwork. It's like the voice itself is a tree, and you want to make a single spoon out of it, kind of, if that makes any sense.
It does, yeah. And I was listening to a really beautiful recording of you singing "How Great Thou Art" not too long ago, and you know, I was just wondering, Jonathan, do you come from a religious family? Are you comfortable singing hymns? Are they familiar to you?
I've always been very comfortable singing hymns. I mean, we sang hymns in primary school. I come from what I would call a very loosely religious background. Not particularly practicing, but my mum, for instance, believes that there must be some creator, some higher something, and I am a 20, however old I am, uh, 26, I think, year old, kind of still figuring all of that out.
Mm.
And yeah, it's, yeah.
When you're singing hymns, Jonathan, do you find them spiritual? I mean, like "How Great Thou Art" is a really powerful piece, isn't it? You know, are you physically and mentally moved by that kind of music?
Absolutely. I mean, "How Great Thou Art," for instance, is perhaps my mum's favorite song that I've ever done. And so when I sing it, uh, well, there are some friends of mine who have passed on in the past couple of years since I recorded that, and I feel as though when I reach that chorus of that song, I'm singing to the audience, but I'm also singing up to the clouds, to the heavens, one might say.
No, yeah, yeah, it's yeah, I think that's a really nice way you've described it. It's kind of something spiritual about it, isn't it?
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. And on your website, Jonathan, it states that you're very keen to support mental health improvement and anti-bullying campaigns. Just can you, is that from experience or is that from,
Absolutely.
yeah? Can you
It
have,
is.
tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, yeah, of course. It's I think to start off, I think it is very, very important that in general we do not stigmatize one another for the challenges that we face. I think in general that is true in faith as well, right? If someone strays from the path, it's we don't berate them, we we embrace them. It's and I dropped out of school in just after entering a new school for sixth form, and that was because I couldn't see a path ahead for myself in life whatsoever. And there was a day where this new school, it was very sort of upmarket and all nice, and there was an infirmary with a bed in it. And one day I went to the infirmary, and the full school day I just stayed in that bed because I had no motivation to do anything or go anywhere, see anyone, um, and yeah, that's when I dropped out. And it just so happened that serendipitously all of this BGT stuff, the TV stuff, came along, and I was swept up in doing all of this. But I shudder to think what would have happened if the universe hadn't opened a window for me in that moment. And I think that it is vital that other people get those windows of opportunity, a break to feel again.
Yeah. Did you get help with your mental health problems, or was it one that you worked through yourself? Or, you know, a lot of people, like you say, there's a lot of stigma, isn't there, to mental health people, and I think certainly from males who think they'll just kind of brave it out and that, and everything will be all right. And but just if you're happy to just
Mm,
encourage, if anything, Jonathan.
yeah, male suicide rates are increasing. We are we it is necessary that we between men we talk about our feelings. Between all people we talk about our feelings, and do not stigmatize one another for having a bad day, having a terrible experience, having something that makes us feel different. Those things that make us feel different and that make us different are the most beautiful and wonderful things about us. There is no call to stigmatize against them. Our experiences will make us who we are. That's what I think.
Yeah. And was it was it difficult to get back to where you thought you were kind of mentally well? Was it a struggle for you, or and how did you get there? Was it through your closest friends, those that you really loved and drawn? Was, you know, I know personally I get a lot of help from music, and I guess you that
Yeah,
was for you as well.
yeah. I mean, I was very much plunged into a wild world of music at my deepest point, and I was very fortunate that I was able to get help. I was able to see actual therapists, specialists, and on the NHS as well, which remarkable. Thank you NHS. Um, it's yeah. I
Jonathan, can I ask you this question? Because I've
Yeah,
asked this of somebody who's helped me a little bit, is that when I'm feeling down, I do listen to really kind of dark music. And I mean really dark, you know, kind
yeah,
of Leonard Cohen, these kind of things.
yeah.
And I asked somebody why they thought that was the case, you know, when I'm feeling a bit depressed. And the person said, I think it's probably because when you listen to that music, it makes you realize that you're not quite there. You know, if you listen to Everybody Hurts by REM or something, you know, actually makes you think it's not quite as bad, and it actually pulls you back. Do you think there's something in that?
I think so. I think that there are two sides to it in this. I think that there is that side, but there's also the idea of not feeling alone, right? If you really do feel like you're at the bottom of the barrel, and someone else is kind of poetrizing that to you, putting that in a song, it can really make you feel as though you have that connection to someone else. And I think when you are incredibly depressed, to feel as though you are not an individual, to feel as though you are not uh, this mass of meat, to feel that you are connected to something, to feel that you are bigger than yourself is very, very valuable.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for your honesty, Jonathan. Appreciate that.
Oh, no
Um,
problem. Gladly, gladly.
yeah, and let's just move on to Britain's Got Talent. We have got something in common, Jonathan, because I've been on Britain's Got Talent as well with a friend of mine. We were a double act, believe it or not. And let me it's probably best to say it didn't go quite as well for us as it did for you. But tell us about that day. Were you kind of, were you earmarked in any way as a couple who had potential, or was it pretty as stark as it looks? You just rocked up on stage and then wow, that Susan Boyle moment.
Yeah, it really did seem kind of like that. It for us, it was we arrived at the Apollo. Well, we did a pre kind of, you do a pre-stage thing that everyone goes to. I'm pretty sure. So there was no indication that anything would really happen other than, well, you've been invited to the Apollo to do the televised one. So that in itself is exciting and huge. But you know, it might be cut. You might not make it to the show. There are all sorts of things that could happen. But on the day, it was well, I was at such a low point that I didn't really walk in with any expectation whatsoever. I was just there, just as a presence, and we waited backstage for what felt like hours upon hours. And when they eventually called us, I feel a certain delirium had set in almost. And just walking out onto that stage and seeing a full Hammersmith Apollo with the BGT setup, the judges kind of, they're at such a distance that they look like dolls, but so it is very surreal. And you walk out there and suddenly you're in it. Suddenly that's the moment. And there I was. There I was. And I wonder, when you look at the kid on stage, like I wonder, physically I suppose I look pretty similar to that guy, but I do wonder if at the core of me, I am still that same kid.
And what do you think?
Many things. It's
What do you
a
think?
wandering thought process. There is some nugget of him still buried deep within me, but either I have transformed drastically, or I am just that kid, but a lot happier.
Yeah. Well, I watched it yesterday, Jonathan, just to refresh myself, and the first thing that struck me was that it's been viewed by 130 million people. So, you know, it's not a small audition we're talking about. But what I did notice was this awkward, vulnerable young chap that was on the prefaces of blowing the nation away, and I actually think that added to the performance. It kind of added to what you were. This vulnerability, you know, almost it was theatrical as well as it was magnificent, and then it all happens when that crowd rose to their feet as they did, and your face is just a picture. Can you remember that moment? Can you recall it?
Yeah, it's I remember it almost from a third person perspective, as though I am not even the TV cameras, but a camera filming them as well, like a behind the scenes bird's eye almost view. It's in these flashes of scenes, and I can see it sort of interspersed with the actual footage. It's yeah, this again surreal. It really, looking back at it, it feels like a dream, and but perhaps I'm still living in one. I think.
Can you remember the few days afterwards when you go home and you wake up, you think, "Gosh, has that just happened to me?" That's almost as surreal as the experience, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the I think maybe the day after or in the next couple of days, there was I think either a tweet or just a couple of little things that were kind of talking about me because people had been in the Apollo and seen that. Of course, the TV itself wouldn't come out for a good little while afterwards, maybe a month or so, maybe a couple of weeks. It's hard to remember these timelines, but that just that was like, oh wow, people are talking already. Like it hasn't come out, and people are talking, and maybe this could be something. And so when it did come out, I was actually in well, actually, one of my friends, his dad owns like a little recording studio in an industrial estate, and we were all there, me and my friends, just doing like a band practice, playing heavy metal basically. And I had my phone off, so we come out of this extremely warm double locked room. I turn my phone on, and it just starts going crazy, just buzzing non-stop. I have people tweeting, messaging me, Blackberry messaging me as well, to date the story significantly. It just it was non-stop, and I was like excitedly showing my friends, and yeah, it just it again, it's been a dream since then. My life itself has been a dream since then.
Yeah, and then after the final of Britain's Got Talent, how soon were the record labels queuing up? Were you in? You were the pair of you were in hot demand, I guess.
Well, it's the whole show. I mean, Simon has his own record label. Simon Cowell, I should say, has his own record label, and so that's all. It's all tied into the show, and then Sony are joint kind of partners with that. So it was basically immediately after I mean, same day as the show finished. It was well, uh, let's get the first album going. It really was just right off the bat.
Yeah, and as time went on, obviously you and Charlotte went your separate ways. Was that difficult for you, or was it? Well, very. I'm sure it was amicable, but but do you miss those days? Do you miss having somebody by your side, or are you comfortable with the decision that was taken? And
I am of
was it your
course.
decision as well, Jonathan?
Yeah, yeah, I am of course comfortable with it. At a point, there's not too much that a duo can do, I feel, and so it just kind of came as a natural ending. As I, I think that it's honestly better that way. I've seen many things kind of drag out and do 100 episodes more than they should have, or something, and uh, this to end it, to say we've done some good stuff, really liked it, and now it's time for us to do our own thing. I think that was the right choice.
Yeah. And now after Britain's Got Talent, Jonathan, you're very famous, aren't you? Yeah, let's be honest. You're very famous. So what's it like walking down the street? Do you enjoy fame, or is it difficult for you?
um I it's hard to say. I um I don't consider myself famous. I must say that as a preface. um I a lot of people have seen the video, And I am very recognizable, I will say. If you have seen my face, I'm pretty hard to miss. But I've yeah, I've never felt myself a benefactor of the all the assets of fame itself. I walk down my local streets, and people in the area know me, but I've lived here for 10 odd years as well. So it's yeah, it's it's nice that people recognize me. It's nice that people will come up to me actually and say like wonderful things to me. Um like in what world do you experience that kind of thing, right? It's that is soul affirming, life affirming. I mean, people message me on Twitter and on social media saying like that I've helped them in some way, and that to me, if that's fame, um that is the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah.
But I hope that fame is not a prerequisite for that. I hope that eventually we can all walk up to each other on the street and say, "Hey, you really helped me out."
Yeah, that's good. That's lovely. Jonathan, can you remember the first show you did where people had just paid to come and see you? Britain's Got Talent. People were put there. They didn't know what they were getting. What was it like when you actually started doing shows and these people are coming to see you? It's your show.
I wow, what was I would really have to rack my brain. It may have been a Galsworth Hall. May Oh goodness me. It's well, I suppose the first word that comes to my mind is terrifying, but that is I think that's the nature of wanting to give people something, right? If I just wanted to turn up there and sing, and it was just whatever, then it'd just be whatever. But every time, of course, you are only as good as your last performance is the old adage. And so every single time, particularly if people have paid to come and see me, I must. It is imperative that I give them the show of a lifetime, ideally. And yeah, so it was, even from the first show, that feeling is present. Um, that anxiety that rises in you, I think, is fuel really for to create art and to shows. So yeah, it was a nerve wracking experience, but to have people there. I remember someone said to me that you could show up, stand there and sing one note, and some of these people would be glad that they had paid to come and see you. And I thought that ludicrous, but there are people who are so dedicated and who are so wonderful and just like me for some reason, for some unknowable reason, that they might actually do that. And it's for them that I try and give that 101+% every time.
And Jonathan, I love your humility. You're a very humble guy, and I have to say, I I I love Les Mis, or Les Mis, as my kids keep correcting me. Your version of Empty Chairs at Empty Tables is extraordinary. It's just so beautiful. It really is. And I think that's the appeal. Is you've got a wonderful voice, but you're a really decent guy. You're very down to earth. You're very humble.
Oh,
Have you got a favorite? I mean, I could listen to. Well, I've listened to that most of last week actually. It's been on repeat. But have you got songs that you really love singing? Is there something you think, oh, I really love this one?
yeah. I mean, I feel like every time I go in and make new recordings, I find these songs that are just like absolute dynamite. How Great Thou Art is absolutely one of them. Like, yeah, hitting that chorus is yeah, fun and spiritual, which I mean that's wonderful. Nessun Dorma is another one that is I thought I would be terrified of it, but it is actually incredible fun, and now I understand why people love it and why people sing it um as much as they do. Oh, man, I feel like I could genuinely list every single song from every album I've ever done at this point. Like, I think perhaps the love is the singing itself,
Mm.
and music is a vessel in a way.
Yeah. And your work is, I guess, taking you all over the world now, has it?
Yeah. It's there are still lots of places that I really want to go. I haven't been to South America yet, um, but I would really like to go. And yeah, yeah, it is bizarre to me, like where I've been and all the things I've done. And there was a point in my life where I thought, like, what is there left to do? And uh, I'm not sure what exactly put it into perspective for me, but just over the last years, I thought I've found that such a ludicrous idea. There
Mm.
is always so much left to do. There are always so many places left to go. No one person could go everywhere and do everything that they want to do. And that, I think, is perhaps what's most beautiful about life.
Yeah. And Jonathan, I'm into a band called, probably from a different generation to yours. I'm a huge Depeche Mode fan. And what I love about Depeche Mode is I feel they love their fans as well. I think there's a real respect for the people who've put them in the places that they are. Tell me about your relationship with your fans. I guess you've got quite a following.
Well, many years ago, my middle initial is F, and my last name is Antoine. So if you just jam the F on, you get Fantoine, right? And so for a couple of years we've had this name, and for the core group of Fantoines are some of the most wonderful people that I have ever had the opportunity to meet, to speak to. It it's for me, like, these people aren't fans. They aren't like a nameless sea of people. These are individuals who have these, like, beautiful lives, and who have told me about their stories. To Yes, a couple of people recently passed away, and it's for the, almost 10 years we've been great friends. It's and it really hurts.
Mm.
It really does hurt to see people go, because they are, they every individual means a lot to me.
Mm.
It's not just the idea of a fan base.
Mm.
It is well and truly, yeah. It boggles my mind, but I must imagine these people complexly, and realize, yeah, just how much life they have and how much love they have to give is,
Mm.
it's yeah.
Is your fan base quite diverse, Jonathan? We kind of, in the church, we make fun of Alan Jones because he's of a certain genre. Most of his audience is in the 70s, and many of them attend church. But is yours quite diverse? Because you're only a young guy, aren't you?
There's a fair diversity, but I will say I also hit that demographic, certainly. But my kind of, my goal in a way has always been to bring some newer people into the classics, and if that takes me singing some Justin Bieber, then gladly I'll take it. I'll do it.
And just kind of wrapping up, Jonathan, what's next? Have you got dates for shows in the diary now, or what's the plan for you as you get through this bottleneck year?
Yes, well, we're currently scheduling in dates for a North American kind of tour, and which was supposed to happen, in 2020, and that should be at the end of this year. Fingers crossed. Oh, please. And uh, perhaps more Christmas material. I released a Christmas album last year, and I think I really enjoyed kind of being in the spirit and enjoying that festive feeling. And so perhaps more of that, more collaboration with Diane Warren. I do believe this is just a tentative teaser at the moment, and yeah, more and more and more always.
Jonathan, I've got to ask you, have you got stuff out on vinyl? Is any of your, have you got, I mean, I love vinyl. I've got, look, I'll even show you. Look, it's got Status Quo LP there. It's
Oh, beautiful. I don't have any of my records with me. I've got a record, a little record collection as well. But my 2014 album, Tenore, is out on vinyl. My 2016, Believe, is out on vinyl.
Right.
And I think we are. It's either out or we're working on a version of Going the Distance, which was my 2020. So there are available vinyls.
What about cassette?
Oh, not yet, but I might be making some bootlegs myself. That is so cool. Oh.
There you go. You can age me by my music system, definitely. Jonathan, it's been a real and a genuine pleasure to talk to you. It's been lovely to hear the journey, and it's wonderful to seeing you so successful. And you know, we have a beautiful church in Burnley, and if you ever want to kind of walk a few warm-up dates, you know, St Matthew's lends itself extremely well to music, so a wonderful acoustics. But
I may well have to take you up on that. No, honestly, a wonderful time speaking, and that does sound like a good idea.
Jonathan, thanks so much, and we send our love down to Essex from Burnley, and thank you so much for coming on the Godcast. Thank you.
Thank you, and my love right back.